So despite the history part, what do you think some of the greatest difficulties exist in students in learning Latin? I know Latin is a language from like 2,000 years ago, and basically no one is speaking right now. So what are some difficulties that you think?
I think students certainly are surprised when they find out they're taking a language that no one speaks, not even in the classroom. Most students have taken at least a little bit of Spanish in grade school, and some might be lucky enough to have taken a little bit of Mandarin or maybe a little bit of French, but usually Spanish. So I think they're thrown for a loop when it dawns upon them that they'll just be reading. They won't really be speaking or listening. There are benefits to that, though, because for one thing, it's just learning one skill, not several. You're only learning how to read, not how to speak or listen. I think a lot of Latin students end up being grateful that they don't have to speak or listen to the language. I think they quickly realize that would be a lot harder, not easier. Other difficulties, though, I would say include that even though Latin does have a lot of similarities with English, similar vocabulary, some similar aspects of grammar like active and passive verbs, etc., or subjects and direct objects, more than anything, students are flustered and caught off guard by learning a language that is so heavily based on suffixes, because English doesn't really do that, with a couple exceptions of, for example, pronouns. The ending of a pronoun in English is reminiscent of Latin in that he has to be a subject, him has to be an object, his or hers has to be possessive, but that's the exception in English. So a massive hurdle students face in Latin is learning that it's the endings really that matter, and it's not necessarily the order of the words that matter. But even though it's a challenge, it's just really obvious to teachers who've been doing this for a while, or even to students like you who have been learning Latin for a while, that it's not an insurmountable challenge. It's a challenge that's not insignificant. It's tough, but it's doable. And lots of students can clear that hurdle and climb over that barrier and then find a lot of success and, I think, enjoyment reading the language.
Yeah.